Parents, teachers, invited guests, and students, good morning and welcome to today's Captain Industry event. My name is Mudongoya, and today we have been joined by various captains of industries who will be introduced later on during this program by my co-host Rashid Kopar. Before we begin, I would kindly like to request Miss Marianne to play for us the national anthem, the East African anthem, and the school song.
Seven people.
Mungu twaomba uilinde Jumuiya Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Uzalendo pia mshikamano viwe msingi wa umoja wetu, na tulinde uhuru na amani, mila zetu na desturi zetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu. Viwandani na hata mashambani, tufanye kazi sote kwa makini, tujitoe kwa hali na mali, tulijenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you, Miss Marianne. Now I'd like us to bow our heads for a word of prayer. Our Father, we come before you today, Lord, with thanksgiving in our hearts. Lord, we thank you for enabling each and every one of us to wake up today morning. We thank you for the gift of life. Do not take it for granted. Lord, today as we are here to listen to the captains of industry, I pray that we may be able to pick something that we can carry with us throughout our daily lives. I pray for the sick people, Lord, may you heal them. For the poor, may you provide for them something, Lord. And anything I've forgotten to pray for, may you grant it in Jesus' name, I pray. Amen. Today's Bible reading comes from the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12 to 18. And it says, "Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. When tempted, no one should say, 'God is tempting me.' For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he tempt anyone. But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it's full grown, gives birth to death. Don't be deceived, my dear brothers and sisters. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from Father of the heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows. He chose to give us birth through the word of truth, that we might be a kind of first fruits of all he created." That's the word of the Lord. I would now like to welcome our head teacher, Ms. Echesa Karaoke, who will give us her opening remarks.
Good morning, young men and young women. I think today I can call you entrepreneurs or technopreneurs. And it gives me much pleasure to make these opening remarks that will take me just a few minutes. And thank you, Rashid Kopar Kenakuria, the president, Jane Wangeshi, Mutheu Ngoya, generally the student government that has put all this together. And I know it's taken work, it's taken thoughts, it's taken ideas, it's taken commitment to get us to this level. So I do not take that for granted. And thank you very, very much. I also want very specially to thank Mr. Frank Mola, Waithera Gaitho, Ken Njoroge, Christine Khasina, and Zuhura Odhiambo. Thank you very much, captains of industry, for finding the time to come and talk to these young technopreneurs who are getting ready to shape their world. And as we discuss how then to strengthen ourselves, I think we need to, as I was thinking about what's this distinct difference between an entrepreneur and a technopreneur. And it's really both of them have ideas and people who identify opportunities and they want to, use those opportunities where there's a gap to find a solution, and they want to do things very differently. However, a technopreneur uses technology, and I'm very happy this season. We've actually just embraced I would call it those silver linings that sometimes come with dark clouds. You talk about COVID being a dark cloud, but it does have silver linings. It is forcing us to think outside the box. And for years, Rusinga, we've had Business Day, then we've had Entrepreneurship Week. And this year, thanks to COVID, we have technopreneurship. So here's the thing. Taxi businesses were changed dramatically when the founders of Uber had an idea. Why don't we do it in a different way? A different way to call a cab, a different way to just find where we need to go. GPS, for instance, is an integrated app in the Uber industry. And look at how it revolutionized how we do taxi business. And the bodas are, they're following suit. Now I don't need to use any boda flagging them down the road. I can actually go to the internet, work it out. And this is a much safer way because then the names, the registration number, you can even check the background of this driver and so on and so forth. So thank you so much, Rusinga, for taking on this wonderful opportunity provided to us by COVID to actually do business differently using technology. And like I said, I'm interested in seeing tomorrow how much traffic there will be on the internet in terms of who is ordering what from who and who is receiving what via the same industry we are talking about, either Taxify or Uber or Boda Boda. And you can actually track and trace. So thank you very much. My colleagues, Dennis, Mr. Dennis and Okoth and Mrs. Yeri and Mr. Njoroge and Mr. Kumu and the rest of the humanities. Kudos to you and thank you so much for giving us an opportunity this week to think deeply and creatively how we can use this platform to carry out businesses. And I'm ready to order. I'm ready to order just to support you. There is a gap somewhere, we can't mingle too much. How do I get my products? Over to you, thank you very much. Over back to the MC. Have a wonderful day and have a wonderful tomorrow as well. Asante sana.
Thank you, Ms. Kariuki, for that wonderful opening remark. Now I'd like to hand over the assembly to the moderators of today's event, Rashid Kopar and Kena Korea.
All right, thank you, Muderu, for that. Good morning and welcome, Ms. Kariuki, our head teacher, Mr. Akumu, our head of senior school, Ms. Mburu, our dean of academics, members of faculty and members of the student body, and of course, our phenomenal guests, the captains of industry. Ladies and gents, we have a compelling array of industrious leaders, all from different business industries that operate within our homeland, Kenya. We are sure to learn a substantial amount from them. I will be taking you through the first half of this session, introducing the country developer of MasterCard East Africa and the founder and executive director of Alternatives Africa. My co-moderator, Kenna, will introduce you to the latter three CEOs, followed by an entree of questions that we have prepared for you, us, the moderators. So firstly, I would like to each mention all of them by name. So our captains of industry are Ms. Zuhura Odhiambo, the founder and CEO of New Revenue Solutions Africa, Mr. Ken Njoroge, co-founder of Group CEO Cellular Corporation, Ms. Waithera Gaitho, founder and executive director Alternatives Africa, Ms. Christine Odero, CEO of Supamamas, and Mr. Frank Mola, the country director and business developer of MasterCard East Africa. So to start us off, I would like to leave the floor to Mr. Frank Mola, the director of MasterCard East Africa. A bit of an introduction about him. Mr. Mola is a certified master negotiator by Harvard and Strathmore Business School, currently driving MasterCard's business strategy in Eastern Africa through innovation and technology, with the aim of achieving financial inclusion across the East African key markets. He has 15 plus years of experience in the cards and payment industry, working overseas and been among a variety of leadership roles. He worked with American Express in Spain, in the UK prior to joining MasterCard. He's a graduate of the esteemed Harvard Business School, as well as an alumna of both Nanyang Business School in Singapore and Strathmore Business School in Kenya. He's a firm believer in servant leadership. He has grasped his mentorship skills and enhanced his management and leadership skills through actively engaging in Harvard's management mentorship program. He was voted the president of SMLP class of 2019 and presented the cohorts while at Strathmore Business School. Frank won the 2020 MasterCard Global Prestigious President Club Award that exhibits excellence, leadership, and achievement. And in his free time, he is a Roomba dance fitness instructor. So without further ado, Mr. Frank Mola, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Richard, for the kind words and introductions. Good morning, everyone. I'm very much humbled to have been asked to be part of the panelists this morning and basically to talk about e-commerce and digital as a whole, and also share a bit of my life journey in this phase as well. I would like to start by pretty much saying that Today's kids pull out the umbilical cord and quickly plug into the internet, right? And basically what this means is their digital social media driven upbringing will make them servants in some areas of relationships building. And trust you me, it will make a number of them idiots if they're not careful in this space, right? My upbringing, I must say, was God-sent in many ways. It toughened my resolve and fueled my drive to be successful. And success here is in my own definition. A number of us define success differently. A number of people define success by material things. But again, I would not say you're wrong. My right is also not the only right at the same time. But today, and to me as well, my upbringing made it clear to me that there was a difference between the haves and the have-nots. And I had a choice to make. And it was very critical for me to make a choice on where I really want to be. Now, I very much suspect in the new normal, as we call it, I suspect that some of the digitization trends we've been seeing, especially in the areas of online learning, we are seeing things like telemedicine coming up, working remotely, like where we are having this conversation now, will become a regular part of our lives in 2021 and beyond. So we really need to embrace ourselves because this is the new norm and we have to be part of it. So allow me to tell you a bit of a story. This will summarize my upbringing. I've been very hungry ever since I was a young boy, and I very much have a very, very thirsty mind. I enjoy reading. I remember I read a story where, this trainer told all the children and the students, like now, Rusinga students, you can put yourself in that scenario. And he told all of them to go outside to the racing field. And what they were told is to make a straight line, right? And when they made a straight line, what they were told to do basically is they're going to be asked questions, and every question you're asked, make a step forward. So the trainer started and said, if you went to a private school like Rusinga, for example, make a step forward. And of course, in this scenario, I'm sure all of the students watching today would have made a step. If you have 3 meals in a day, make a step forward. If everyday part of your meal entails, be it pork, sausages, chicken, you name it, make another step forward. If you're always dropped in school, make a step forward. If you're given pocket money every day, make a step forward. If you always go for holidays, make a step forward. If you go for international holidays, make a step forward. Now, what happened is it started forming a triangle. A number of students were left behind, but as the trainer kept on asking each and every student to step forward, you could see very few. It started curving like a triangle shape. And the message here, what the trainer said was, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And he emphasized and says, you cannot choose your parents. You were born in that family. You cannot choose your neighbors. You cannot choose your class teachers. You cannot. And where you're born, you cannot choose it, right? So where you are is not your choice. Somebody made that choice for you. But where you want to go, that 100% becomes your choice. Now, what the trainer went on and said is, I have $500 notes, and I want you to run round the track. So all the students quickly ran round. And I must tell you, by the time they're getting to the finishing line, the students who are behind the track, when they're being told to step forward, were the ones who won the $500. Why? They were thirsty. They were hungry. Where they were born, most of them did not have the privilege of getting all these things. So they came into life with all that hunger. And my question to you, or my submission to you this morning, is to tell you, it is not your choice where you were born. It is your choice where you are going to next. And that's a decision you have to make. So over my journey to lead digital transformation and to drive financial inclusion, I've come to learn that we must adopt to new environments. We cannot keep to our position. And you'd admit with me that when a chameleon changes its colors, it doesn't change its environment. And we all know that. So this is more evident now than ever with COVID being with us. When we talk about e-commerce specifically, and a number of you are business students, and like we said, technopreneurs, this is the area you want to move to. We're talking about basically moving a traditional model of business to the digital platform. And like we were rightfully told, an example is normal taxi that moved to Uber, which is now digital and it's online. Pretty much that's what you're talking about. But e-commerce in its own, I must say, has spurred a lot of employment in the industries, producing softwares, systems, and all this is used by different occupations. And these occupations are associated with websites and networks. Now, for the youth especially, in the areas of engineering, you name it, anything that you're doing online, this is going to be more beneficial to you more than ever. And I must emphasize that the more and more software specialists you become, and we have a lot of people and a lot of space in this space. It is not unlimited. You just have to come up, have the zeal, have the drive, and it is fine. And e-commerce, which we refer to as electronic commerce, is just a general term for a type of business or a commercial transaction that involves the transfer of information in the internet. That's pretty much it. And think of website designers, think of developers, think of content development, think of web programming, think of application development, think of database administration and webmasters. I mean, the careers can move from here to there. As we think of technopreneurship, as we think of going into the e-commerce and the digital space, there's a lot for us. And again, the beauty of this space is the opportunity is so much. It's not limited. We can be the ones to define it. Now, the e-commerce industry is growing significantly. And again, it's very much expected to add lots of jobs in the years to come. The job market in this space, I must say, since the 1990s, there's still a lot of opportunities. There are ample of opportunities available because the industry is evolving continuously and every other day. So if you're thinking, and we are on the Technopreneurship Week, by all means, you are in the right track. You're on the right journey. It's up to you now to sit back and identify, where do I sit? Where do I feel comfortable? How hungry are you? Do you have a thirsty mind? And what do I need to do? And how do I need to do it? In all this, discipline must come in. We cannot discuss technopreneurship in itself as a platform. There are a number of things that we have to push back. And to the parents who are listening to us this morning, and to the people who tend to be in the business, you'll agree with me that when you're looking for a business partner, the qualities, the virtues, the values you're looking for are the same values you look for in a marriage partner, right? You look for kindness, you look for patience, you look for sacrifice, you look for somebody who can give you time, and it's the same thing. So technopreneurship, entrepreneurship, e-commerce platform, as you think of going that direction, you must keep in mind, you must be anchored in certain values, you must be anchored in certain principles as well. Now, as I close, there are different forms of e-commerce, and I'm sure a number of you have already come through this. There is what we call business to business, which is referred to as B2B. There is what we call business to consumers, which is what we call B2C. There is what is called consumer to consumer, which is what we call C2C. And the interesting one that has just come up is what we call the S-commerce, the social commerce. And this is where a number of our young people dwell. So what is social commerce? I mean, this is purely where buyers and sellers conduct e-commerce transactions on a social media platform channel and using a specific payment channel, so to speak. Like what we had over the weekend or the last 1 week, WhatsApp has launched payments in India. What does that tell you? There's a lot of things happening. And that's why I talked about S-commerce, social commerce. Now, my disclaimer though, which I really want to leave you with at the same time is, as one engages in the virtual business model, and as we look at the Technopreneurship Week, please keep in mind that the internet never forgets. It never forgets at all. And just to remind yourself, and just to remind us and every other person, is that Everything is beautiful in its own time. Do not rush it. It's beautiful in its own time, right? At the end of the day, you need to be distinct. And if you're not careful with the digital platform, you're going to be extinct, okay? That's what digital can do to you. It's your choice on how you do it as we celebrate, the Technopreneurship Week. Now, as I end, and I always like saying a prayer, which I always tell God that, God, let me accept the things that I can't change. Give me the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And finally, please remember, as you work and as you wake, as you go to work, or as you go to school, and pretty much we're talking about online, it is very important that the warmer the blanket is, the colder your future becomes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mola, for sharing your insightful views on what it means to be an entrepreneur and sharing your journey with us and giving us some word of encouragement. Before I introduce the next speaker, students present, the event is meant to be as inclusive as possible, so don't be shy to ask questions. We look to inspire the future entrepreneurs of the nation. Leave your question in the chat and they shall be addressed in our Q&A section. Secondly, now I'd like to move on to our next speaker, the founder and executive director of Alternatives Africa. The founder and executive director of Alternatives Africa, Ms. Waithera Gaitho. She focuses on youth and women enterprise development. She is an enterprise evangelist. For 7 years, Waithera has been privileged to nurture the next generation of Africa's female and male entrepreneurs and business leaders as the founder and executive director of Alternatives Africa. Together with a passionate team, she has established a one-stop shop for youth-owned micro and small enterprises that provides an affordable business support ecosystem, which includes a Young Entrepreneurs Association, a National Youth Circle, and the newly launched Agro Hub with a focus on Kenya and African continent at large. She has over 15 years of progressive professional experience gained from working with the United Nations for 9 years, the private sector 7 years, government and civil society. Waithera holds a BA in International Relations and an MA in International Studies from the United States International University, Africa, and the University of Nairobi, respectively. At Alternatives, the mission is to accelerate youth-owned enterprises by providing affordable financial and non-financial business training, development advisory services, and a support system up until 40 years of age. Our purpose is increase the productivity, profitability, and business growth for improved economic livelihoods and employment creation towards socioeconomic development and the realization of national, regional, and global development agendas. So, without further ado, Ms. Waithera Gaitho.
Good morning, everybody. How are you this morning? So my name is Waithera Gaitho. As Rashid has well introduced myself, and because of time, I will just get into it. Thank you very, very much to the management of Rusinga for considering for this great event, which I must say is a critical one for the young ones that we are nurturing. I tried to summarize my story, and I figured because I was born to talk and blessed with the ability to talk for 3 hours and feel like I've spoken for 3 minutes, it's much easier for me to write down what I wanted to say so that I can be able to stick within the time limit. So I will read out what I have written, but this is what I want to tell you. Entrepreneurship is hard. It is not for the faint-hearted. Entrepreneurship is simultaneously, mentally, financially, and physically draining, especially at the beginning. Entrepreneurship has no place for an inflated ego. Patience, perseverance, and persistence are its daily mantra. And rejection is actually part of the job description. Initially, an entrepreneur is a jack of all trades. You're the receptionist, you're the cleaner, you're the marketer, you're the accountant, you're the human resource, you are the salesperson, and you're the manager. So why would anyone want to be an entrepreneur? Why would anyone desire to go through such a gruesome journey, and worst of all, be a jack of all trades at the beginning and have to eat a lot of humble pie? Actually, you could actually grow fat on humble pie as an entrepreneur, you know? So why would you want to do that? It is simply because we all have a passion. And it's the same reason one chooses to be a doctor, despite the sight of blood, broken bones, tears, and pain that one will get to see along their career path. It's the same reason one chooses to be a pilot, despite the danger of crashing and never surviving. It's the same reason one chooses to join the military, despite the risk of dying in battle, or even worse, becoming a prisoner of war. It's the same reason we enter our cars every day and drive, yet we know the roads are a risky place. In fact, stepping out of our homes is a risk in and of itself. The reason that most revered careers carry a risk, or rather, most revered careers carry a risk, but we are usually willing to pay the price just to have that feather on our cap. Entrepreneurship is not different. In fact, entrepreneurship is the engine of any economy. The prosperity of any nation is dependent on the entrepreneurial spirit of its citizens. To my story, I did not plan to be an entrepreneur. When I was in grade 4, standard 4 in the system I went to, I was very sure I wanted to be a diplomat. And I loved geography, history, theory. In fact, right when I went to Form 1, I went with all my GHC books, as we used to call it, right from standard 5. I used to, anytime they got filled up, I would just, pile them behind each book, each other, and I went to Form 1 with all my books from standard 5. After high school, I joined the United States International University for my first degree, and I chose to study international relations because, hey, I wanted to be a diplomat. And I went on to do my master's at the University of Nairobi again, and going to USIU, as a freshman, I joined a club called the Africa Peace Initiative. I also became a student leader because, hey, I was studying international relations and I wanted to be a diplomat. And after my master's, I joined the United Nations. And there I stayed for actually slightly more than 9 years. But while at the UN, I started getting this nagging question. Why is it that 50 years after independence, trillions of dollars pumped into the continent, Africa is still ravaged by poverty, disease, and war? Yet, after World War II, when Europe was flat, less than 20 years later, most of the European nations were back to development status. Why? Why is it that Africa has not made it to that level?
And it was a really, really nagging question, which was really, especially because I was working at the UN and exposed to all these projects and exposed to the globe, it was really, really nagging. And as God would have it, the agency I was working for at that time, being UN Habitat, partnered with Coca-Cola for a project, an East African project. And that was the first time I encountered the corporate sector. That was the first time I saw so many decisions made by one person and at a go. And right after that meeting, I actually followed this gentleman and asked him, how is it that you can make all these decisions as one person? Because the UN, just like any other government, has protocols, systems, structures that must be obeyed, and in short have come to be called red tape. And so you can't skip one. And sometimes decisions really take long, but this guy in 30 minutes had made all the decisions. And that's why I learned about something called profit. Later on, I got to learn that even when the corporate sector gives 1 shilling for profit, or rather for impact, they expect to earn the goodwill from community that they will be able to make 2 shillings from that same 1 shilling that they gave away. And that's when I was like, that's what is missing in development. The incentive profit. And so at that point, I decided, I was reading a book called The Third Alternatives by Stephen Covey. So I decided, what if I synergize the pillars of the non-profit and the pillars of the profit and came up with a company that is greater than the two? And that's how the name of my company came to be, Alternatives. Alternatives for Africa. And therefore, today, I'm the founder and executive director of Alternatives Africa. As I get towards my conclusion, I didn't have much capital when I started Alternatives. What I had was experience, and having been the resource mobilization advisor to the chief of water at that time, when I was exiting the UN, I knew that I could mobilize resources. But I was shocked to discover that people don't give money to ideas. People give money to people. People must trust you first. It doesn't matter how good your idea is. As Warren Buffett says, if I don't trust you, I cannot give you money. So I discovered the hard way, but I also discovered it's not only money that is a resource. And together with a group of friends, we decided to embark on a passion project. And in brief, having been invited by a young man to a place called Kamulu, yes, which is in Nairobi, it's at the border of Nairobi and Machakos, I went to meet some young people, and the first question they asked me was, I went to mentor them, and the first question they asked me was, how do you deal with the fear of success? I had never heard of the fear of success. And the next question was, if you have a challenge in life, is it possible for you to make it? And I almost rolled my eyes because I thought, who doesn't have challenges? They are just part of who we are. And we decided we were going to raise our skills as resources. I had my set of skills, and my friends had their sets of skills. One of them was a fantastic, one of our top creative designers in the country today. And also, and that was a skill he had earned without even going to school, but he was an ICT geek, the tech guy. And together with other friends, we brought our skills together. Today, Alternatives is 7 years old. And using our skills, we were able to prove our concepts. And we've been able to impact the lives of over 3,000 young entrepreneurs and young people. My parents did not have a clue about what I was doing. My mom was not very amused that I had actually left the UN to start something that really did not make sense. Because when you left employment, it was simply like, saying you want to get into business was like, you know, you want to join Juakali, and usually it was considered in those days as if you couldn't get a job. You know, you had tarmacked too hard and you couldn't get a job. So my parents were not very happy, because to them, I had all the right credentials. I had the papers, I had the experience by now, I was working for the UN didn't kick me out. Who leaves a job at the UN? You know? But they did not stop me, though they kept summoning me. At one time, my dad summoned me. And I listened to what he had to say. And then I asked him, Dad, do you believe in me? And he looked me straight in the eyes. With greater conviction than I expected, he told me, Sarah, yes, I believe in you. That is all I needed, to know that my parents believed in me. And regardless of the seemingly insurmountable odds I have had to go through in my entrepreneurial journey, I have been able to overcome all of them, achieve even greater heights than I had aimed for, simply because my father and mother's belief in me were the wind beneath my wings. As I conclude, let me say and tell you, young ladies and gentlemen, the future you want will not be given to you on a silver platter. You must work for it. You must reach out for it. You must be willing to pay the price for it. If you're not willing to die for it, you are not passionate enough for it. If you're not willing to be a squatter, to lose all your friends, then you're not passionate enough for it. You must be passionate enough for it, because it is in what you're passionate enough for. Therein lies your profit. And I will tell you that God does not give us currency. God does not give you money. God does not keep money in heaven. He does not have a central bank in heaven. He does not need money. The Bible tells us in Deuteronomy 18:8 that God gives you the power to make wealth. It is out of making wealth that then you make money. God has equipped you with the skills, the gifts, and the talents you need based on Jeremiah 29:11, the plan and the purpose he has for you. He's already equipped you in order for you to make wealth based on the assignment and the purpose he has for you. And once you use the mind that he has given you, in his image and likeness you're created, you have the mind of Christ. Once you use that mind, what will happen is that you will not only make money, but you will also transform life. And really, guys, the only return on investment you can give God is souls. Because you cannot take money to heaven, but you can take another soul to heaven with you. Thank you very much. Back to you, moderator.
Okay, thank you, Miss Waithera, for sharing extremely insightful sayings about your journey into being an entrepreneur. For me, what stuck out a lot was your passion. Now, that's it from me as a moderator. As of now, I'd like to hand over to Miss Ken Njoroge to take charge from here.
Thank you, Rashid. Good morning to the captains of industry, Ms. Karaoke, Mr. Kumu, students, and all personnel present. Our next speaker is a group chief executive officer and co-founder of Cellulant, Mr. Ken Njoroge. Ken holds a graduate diploma from Strathmore University in Nairobi, and as well as a graduate diploma scheme from the Institute for Management of Information Systems in London. He's a career entrepreneur. Ken previously served as a co-founder and solution design director of 3 Mice Interactive Media. He sits in the advisory board of Swahili Port Hub. In 2017, Ken was elected as the first Sub-Saharan and Kenyan Global Endeavor Entrepreneur. Ken was named the recipient of the 2019 Schwab Foundation Social Entrepreneur of the Year Award. Please welcome Mr. Ken Njoroge.
Thank you, Kenna. Good morning, everybody, fellow parents, teachers, and students of Rusinga. So I'm a parent, I'm a new parent of Rusinga, actually old parent. So my daughter's just joined Rusinga, I think maybe 5 weeks now. But of course, I have my lovely goddaughters that have been in Rusinga for a couple of years. So I'm not familiar, I'm familiar to the school. Thanks, Waithera, thanks, Frank, and thanks, Modeu and Rashid for moderating the previous session. As Kenna said, my name is Ken Njoroge. I'm a techpreneur. I think that's the theme of the week. So I've been in technology. I've been an entrepreneur in technology for since 1998. So that's a little over 20 years. So it's been a very long journey. And during that journey, I've started 2 businesses. The first one was a business called 3 Mice, which I ran between 98 and the year 2002. And then moved on to start Cellulant, which I now run, which has been in business for just a little over 16 years. So how do I summarize my journey during that time? It's been a journey of an up and down, very tough, but richly rewarding. And how I summarize it now is basically a journey of a head in the clouds, your heart in the business, feet on the ground, faith in God. Head in the clouds, heart in the business, feet on the ground, faith in God. So let's explore that journey. So I went to school in Nakuru, which is a smaller town, much smaller town compared to Nairobi, where you all most probably live. My mom was a single parent, and I followed basically the classic script of the day. Basically, go to school, get good grades. At the end of get good grades, go to university and really get a good job. And I followed that, and I was a fairly decent student. And so when I finished high school, I got admission to the University of Nairobi to study pharmacy. And that was the script. And then between high school and university, we had a 2-year gap. And in that gap, I got a scholarship to go and study computers in Strathmore. And this completely changed my life. During that time, I fell in love with computers. I fell in love with the very orderly institution. I fell in love with lecturers that were, part-time lecturers and part-time people working in industry. So they were very practical in their approach and so on. And so when I went to University of Nairobi, after 2 years of being in Strathmore, it was a completely different experience. And studying pharmacy in medical school, I didn't particularly enjoy it. So I failed my first year. This was extremely difficult. I had always been a top student in my class. Pharmacy school then admitted 25 people. So I'd never seen failure in my life. I think I went into some kind of depression. And during that journey, I came to the realization that, I really didn't have a passion for pharmacy school. I was in pharmacy school for about a year and a half in total. And then made a decision actually to quit that and go back to Strathmore. And I went and I did another year, finished the graduate studies, and then went out to the working world. I worked for only a year. But the calling for business was quite a lot. And so I went into business and went and founded 3 Mice. So let's talk a little bit about the lessons and see how this played out across my journey. So we start with the first lesson, which is head in the clouds. When you're starting a business, you always have to start with a vision and a dream. That's where it all starts. And it must start there, and you must dream, and you must dream big. It costs you nothing. And when you dream about the type of business that you want to have, dream about the size that it's going to be, dream about the problem that you're trying to solve, dream, most importantly, about the values of the business that you want to have. When I started 3 Mice, we always dreamt, it was the early days of the internet, and we dreamt of building a business that would be an internet champion. And we built a very well-known company at the time. Eventually it got bought out by another larger company. But we as founders never made any money. But it was a fantastic learning experience. So dream, dream, dream. When I came into Cellular at the beginning, we wanted to build a business that would be very transformational across Africa. We had no money, but we had a lot of experience, my co-founder and I came from 3 Mice. He had also been an entrepreneur during his earlier journey. And we wanted to build a business that Africa would be proud of, because when you looked at Africa, a lot of the large companies were either multinationals, and some of the large companies were either politically connected companies, and so on. So we wanted to build a business that was founded on zero corruption, young people innovating to solve problems that were dear to us, and so on and so forth. And this has been a pillar of our growth over the last 16 years. So we started with no money, but with a big vision, great vision. So when we talk about head in the clouds, you must dream and you must vision. It costs nothing. So let's talk about heart in the business. We always start a business based out of passion. I think by far during this very difficult journey, the most enduring reason for being in business is really passion for a problem that you care about and society cares about it. That's actually what business is about. It's always solving a problem that customers will care for, society will care for, and society will pay a fee for that service. It requires your passion, because heart in the business means you need to master the problem. You need to understand it better than anybody else. You need to be able to push the limits. You need to be able to wake up in the morning, work harder, and so on, because you're driven by that purpose. That's really what heart in the business is about. And by the way, I've come to believe that to make money isn't actually a very good reason to start a business. And you probably wouldn't make a lot if you start a business to make money. Money is always a result. It's never a goal, can never be a goal, can never be the driver. So you're passionate about the problem. You find a problem that society cares about. You solve it better than anybody else can. You solve it in a special way. Customers will reward you with their money. And then the thing comes together. That's what business is about. So you have to get the sequence right. Otherwise, it doesn't last too long. And third lesson, which is feet on the ground. Remember that you start with a great dream and you go to war, because, business is a war. You heard what Waithera said. And you're driven by passion. And that's super, super important. Those are super important ingredients. But remember that business is conducted here on earth, right? And in the real world. And in the real world, there are practical things. There are bills to pay. You need to make things moving. They need skills and so on and so forth. So you have to start with the feet on the ground. What does that mean? It means first, you have to be a master of your craft. So in technology, and by the way, a large number of new businesses into the future will be technology businesses, right? Technology is going to permeate every way of our lives. Think about learning in January and think about learning today. We all woke up, went to class, wrote with a chalk on the board or a felt pen on the board and so on. But now we are on Google Hangouts, Google Classroom, Zoom, and so on and so forth in a very, very short time. I think that's a face of technology for every sphere of our lives, education, health, and so on. That's a future of the world. So most of the entrepreneurs in the future will be tech entrepreneurs. So that means that then to keep your feet on the ground, you have to start with a very strong foundation of understanding technology, understanding what makes technology work. How does the internet work? How does social media work? Not just using it, but how does it work on the background? How does the data flow? How do the technologies work? How does the programming work? And so on and so forth. So you really must go to class to master the most significant skills that are needed in your business. You must understand your customers. You must understand the business. You must understand how businesses make money. Very important. And then the last lesson, which is faith in God. What have I learned? I think one of the greatest lessons that I've learned over the last many years is that, so first, the journey in business took longer than I thought it was going to take. It was more difficult than I thought. I mean, I had made a lot of lofty promises to my mom, to my wife, to my dad. I have not bought my dad the Discovery I promised him. I still owe my mom some money. I still haven't bought my wife that block of flats that I promised her when she put some money in my business. It just took longer than I thought, and it cost way more than I thought. So you learn to trust in God. Don't be impatient. Things happen in God's good time. And you start first by you following your path and your passion. That's probably God's calling for the business. So when I wake up and I go to work, I believe I've really been called to do God's work. I always ask myself, when you look at what my company does, so I say what Cellular does, we have about 400 people now. We started 2 people having coffee and sketched our dream on a serviette. So how did that then become a 400 people business in 34 countries in Africa? It's basically just following the calling, right? I wake up every morning and I know that every time that we do work to allow your parents to move money from their bank account to M-Pesa to send you some money, to give you pocket money, that goes over Cellular's technology. Every time you pay a power bill, you pay your internet bill, and so on and so forth. This is what we do for a large number of consumers in many countries. So every time I wake up and I go and do that, every single day I ask myself, what was God's purpose for me in my life? And it's to transform the lives every single day of the team members. So our team members got a sick family member. I've got to be there for them. Our team members need support. They need rest. They need things. Sometimes they need to be pushed so that their talents come out, and so on and so forth. Every single day. Faith in God. It's a very, very important pillar of the business, very important pillar of my leadership, and a very important source of sanity in a very, very, very uncertain business journey, right? Long, uncertain business journey. And then last lesson, in faith in God, there is always a silver lining in every dark cloud. And I've got a fantastic example. In the early days when I was trying to find financing from banks, I spent so much time from banks trying to get capital. I never got any capital from banks, but I got my wife, right? My dear wife of many years. So there's always a silver lining in every challenge you get. Thank you very much, Rusinga. Very proud to be part of this community. And I hear that most of you want to be entrepreneurs and therefore techpreneurs. Go for it. Just remember, head in the clouds, heart in the business, feet on the ground, faith in God. Thank you very much. Nice day.
Thank you, Mr. Ken, for that incredible message. for reminding us to always dream big, encouraging us entrepreneurs to follow their passion, and for redefining what business means to us. Always remember, head in the clouds, heart in the business, feet on the ground, faith in God. Our fourth speaker is award-winning entrepreneur, founder and chief executive officer of Supamamas. Christine is a business administration graduate of VSIU Africa and holds an MBA in marketing from Liverpool University. She also holds professional postgraduate qualifications in marketing from Marketing Society of Kenya and in total quality management from Kenya Institute of Management. Christine was honored to be South Africa's CEO Most Influential Woman in Business and Government Awards as a finalist in the SME category. Through her leadership, Supamamas in the past 8 years between 2011 and 2018, she has empowered over 8,000 women in the events she has organized. This includes a total of over 55 events in Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu. Please welcome Ms. Christine Khasina.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Kenna, for that introduction. I hope everybody can see me. My lighting is good, hopefully. Hi, Daniel. Thank you so much for this invitation. My name is Christine, and I run a company called Supamamas. Over the past few years, at the moment, everybody calls me Supamama, even my own parents, and I have come to accept it. I was invited by Daniel based on a story I had shared on a platform called Engage, which basically summarized my passion for business and what I have done and my business journey, which I will briefly share with you guys. You know, preparing for this presentation, I then wondered, what's the difference between a techpreneur and an entrepreneur? When you look at it, really, there's no difference because when it comes to you becoming a techpreneur and an entrepreneur like me and Ken and other people have presented, the goal is always the same, to create something that is going to have a commercial viability. So for everyone in the room, if you have an idea, the easiest way you can then start working on it is then finding ways to look at how you're going to make money. And above that, finding ways to have impact, which takes me back to my journey. When I became a mom, I'm a mom of two. My eldest son is 11 and my youngest son is 3. When I became a mom, I was in a place where I felt, as a professional woman, I didn't feel that that was enough. I needed to be more. Being a graduate of USIU, I had done my master's at Liverpool University. I wanted to be more. And I felt being in that space, there could be other mothers. Besides being mothers, they wanted to develop professionally, meet people who will then inspire them and tell them that they can be so much more. And that is what inspired Supamamas. I then approached the moms within my circle, brought them together for, one event. The first event, say you were around 20 people. Other moms invited other moms, then we grew to like 40 people, like that. Eventually, I think I've done events for over 800 people. So then feeling that need created that opportunity that moms want to be inspired. They want to be more than mothers. They want to continue to, break the glass ceiling. It created the opportunity to then build that business. Which brings me to the point of how I use technology to grow my business. Way back when Facebook came in, it was such a big thing, like the same thing for you guys. TikTok is everything right now. And if you can harness, say, TikTok to then build a business, this is the time you can start making money, even while you're still young. So what I did with Facebook when it came in, I created a Facebook group that brought the mothers together. And many mothers joined that group in droves. There were so many. I think by the time I killed that group, we were over 1,000 moms. And the reason why I killed the group is that it was not financially viable to have the group. I figured that then it's easier to move the business to a page. I know you guys know about business pages. So with the business page, then I was able to bring in advertisers. You can be able to show how your post is doing and stuff like that. I then leveraged on technology to continue building my business. So apart from the events, I then brought in social media to find ways to bring more money into the business, which is something that you guys can also think about. Because how many times in a day do you spend time on your phone? It is normally said that in the 15 minutes of waking up, like 80% of us have already gone on our phones to see what's happening on our WhatsApps, what's happening on CNN, what has Trump done yesterday, all of us literally are on our phones. And that's the opportunity that is present for you, that time that you keep spending on your phone. How about you become a different kind of person as a techpreneur? How then can you use your time mindfully on your phone to see how you can develop that business idea, attract people to your idea, find people to fund your idea, or get people to advertise on your idea? So I'm just challenging you to look at a different way on how you can use technology right now and build better habits than us, because half the time, most of us are mindlessly scrolling on our phones. Be more mindful. Your generation can be more mindful in finding ways to use technology to then harness your businesses. Point number 2 is about having that passion. Have a passion when you're starting a business. Like what Mr. Njoroge has just said. Truth be told about business, most of the time you will be broke. Like really, really broke. Like broke, you can't ask your mother for money because you've asked her money for, the past few times, and yeah, it becomes a bit much. Having a passion for your business is going to keep you motivated when everything else doesn't work. Passion is what drives business. If you go into business to make money, you will fail because you will not be able to stay motivated. So have passion, that level of passion. When you watch movies like founders like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, all these people, you can see how driven, they were crazily driven to keep going because they really believed in that idea and they were driven by passion. So it's very, very important for you to have passion in what you do. Money is important, but passion is what keeps you going. The other point is to have a goal, again, bigger than money. Impact is so important. What keeps a business going is the impact that you have. Even when you think about Safaricom, Safaricom can take all the pesa money from us that they want, or our call money and all that. But you can see they have something, they have their Safaricom Foundation to then give back to the society. So what I did with Supamamas, apart from doing the events, like some of the events I would put together, I would take the women, say, to Langata Women's Prison. For a day, we spend time with the prisoners and, treat them like human beings, play with their children, and that becomes a way that you can make impact. Another time, we went to the cancer ward at Kenyatta National Hospital, the cancer ward for children, and that way, just take goodies to them, spend time with them, and it makes a very big difference when your business can also make a difference, even as a tech business. So as you're developing your idea, what impact can you have with your idea in the larger community? So it's not just about you, it's not just about profit, but what impact can you also make? Something to think about. The other thing is persistence. Persistence is so important because there will be so many people whispering in your ear how stupid your idea is. I'm sorry to put it like that because sometimes the way it is said, you look at somebody and you are trying to explain how this idea is going to change the world, but they make you feel like this is the most stupid idea ever. So you have to find a way to be persistent and block out the noise. When I came up with my idea, people used to think that Supamamas was something I do for fun. And sometimes even for parents, it's a bit hard because for almost 2 years, I didn't go home because my mother sometimes would ask me, she supports me a lot, yes, but she used to ask me, that thing that you're doing, are you still doing it or are you going to get a real job? So even for you, when you go into business, sometimes people will not take you seriously. They'll think that you're doing it for fun and you're wasting all those hours on your computer coding and doing all those things. But be persistent and believe in your idea. In my room, I used to have a place in my room where I could just sit there and think, what else can I do with this idea, Supamamas? What more can I do beyond this one event? And I would find different ways of spinning that idea. And 8 years later, even now, I still find ways to spin that same idea. In this space of, COVID and a lot of things moving into technology, I found ways, now that we can't do events, I found ways to say, do Zoom meetings and bring people to influence moms still online, have a conversation on self-care. We have something called Self-Care Fridays. Have different conversations on how can we then build our emotional intelligence, say for next year as we go into the new, this new world order. So finding ways to innovate your idea with technology makes a very big difference. A lot of you know people like Kim Kardashian, and we look at her, Kim Kardashian West. How many people know her? Show of hands. Or Kanye West. You see, Even Mr. Chester knows Kim Kardashian. And we look at her and we're thinking, this pretty face, her with a nicely contoured, everything. But that is literally money walking that has been built through technology. She does, I read somewhere, she does an Instagram post, anything to the tune to thousands of dollars. Some of these amounts cannot even be mentioned in public. Using technology, attracting it to you, and finding ways to spin it to make money. In this space that we have here in Kenya, influencing, becoming an influencer is something that has become big. Even as a techpreneur, it's something that you can think about. In my space as a techpreneur, how can I use my space to influence? Can I be, a kind of person who then, assess phones or, what is it called? I'm looking for the word, like when you get something and then to review, like to review a gadget, to review whatever you need to do in your space. So finding ways to spin off that idea is very important. And the point there is to keep innovating. My fifth point is to learn how to grow yourself. How do you grow your personal brand? Back to the point of technology, we spend a lot of our times on our phones, on our computers, but it doesn't hurt to pick a book to read. One of the ways you can be easily mentored, and I say all the time, is picking up books, people you admire in tech. Like somebody called the guy who does Nike, Phil Knight. There's a book called Shoe Dog. I would highly, highly recommend that you look for that book called Shoe Dog. Reading other entrepreneurs' journeys can inspire you and shorten that learning span, because sometimes it is so hard to get mentors. But when you read a book, you're able to pick from somebody's journey and learn something that could be helpful at that particular time or later. When I couldn't get mentors when I was building my business, I spent so much money on books, just reading one book at a time. How do I build my sales skills? How do I build my communication skills? How do I build my networking skills? Like that. So this way I was able to self-learn, and where I could get mentors, of course, I could get to reach out to mentors and ask them, could you please mentor me in this particular field? So building a personal brand is very, very important. My other point on the same thing about your personal brand, as a techpreneur, as an entrepreneur, you cannot work alone. You have to learn to like people and to work with people and believe that other people can also help you to grow your brand. Building relationships is a big thing in business. Try as much as possible to find ways to manage your emotions in business, because sometimes they run high. Don't burn any bridges unless you really, really have to. Build relationships around you, people who are going to introduce you to other places and send you referrals. Find ways to build your business by building your networks. And I think with that, I come to the end of my presentation. So my points to you are to have passion for what you do. It's very, very important to have passion. When there's no money in your bank account, I can assure you that most of the time, passion will keep you going. Number two, have a bigger goal than money. See ways in which your business can create impact in, the people around you and the community at large. Have a bigger goal. And then the other thing is persistence and belief in yourself. And with that, I think I'll also bring in the point that Mr. Njoroge and Waithera have also brought in. Having that relationship with God makes a very big difference, because sometimes human beings will not understand what you're going through and what you're trying to build. But if you keep that communication line open between you and God, somehow He will always have your back and open opportunities for you. Your work as a human being is to just make that one extra step. Somehow God will show up. If you do your work, God will show up. So just remember that if you do your part, the universe will somehow conspire to bring the opportunities and people and the networks that you need. The other thing is keep innovating. That time that you're spending on your phone and watching Netflix and all that, how can you use technology right now as a techpreneur or an upcoming entrepreneur to then be more mindful on the kind of content that you consume? How then can you build your business on that phone that you have? Find ways to attract people to your TikTok. Get different brands, dairy, what are they called? These chocolate people, companies that target youth. How can they then be attracted to your platform? You can start making money now. I know most of you are almost 18. You can start making money now or find ways to, even partly pay your fees. You never know. And then the other thing is to grow yourself. Keep building your knowledge, keep building your personal brand, and then harness the relationships around you. It's so important to know that in this life, you can't grow alone. You need the people around you. Don't burn bridges unless you really have to. And in fact, just don't burn bridges. We all need each other. We are all connected, and that is how we get to grow our businesses. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Christine, for that motivational talk, showing us how we can utilize time on social media to benefit as entrepreneurs, to be passionate, dream bigger than money, persistent, and impactful to our society, and to never let outside opinions stop you from following your passion. We will now have a video interlude presented by Ms. Marianne. Is Miss Marianne here?
What does it mean to be an entrepreneur? I can tell you this, it is not for the faint in heart. It is only for the brave, the courageous, the calculated. Entrepreneurship is reserved for the resilient. Don't even step on the playing field if you have not counted up the cost of entrepreneurship. So there are two sides to the coin of entrepreneurship. There's heads and there's tails. And most people fail to see tails. They see heads, the face of it. They live on the surface, the lights, the cameras, the action, the yachts, the fame. But they don't see the blood, the sweat, the tears. Anybody that is willing to make the sacrifices, they stay up late, they work longer, they are more focused, pay the price, and get the job done, and finish what they started. Those are the ones that will succeed. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you're going to need to lead.
The world needs more creative, resilient, passionate, committed, focused, disruptive entrepreneurs. The last thing we need is somebody to come along with another good idea, but they don't have the passion, the perseverance, and the grit to get the job done. We don't need another person that's going to start something and quit in 6 months. Don't tell me you want to step into a room and dominate if you don't have passion. Don't tell me that you want to be a disruptive entrepreneur and you want to step into a room with a new idea and challenge and change the status quo and you don't have passion. Right now you may be in pain. Right now you may be hurting. But if you have vision, you are able to see past the pain and look into the eyes of the future. You are going to have to accept the fact that you will lose money. You will not win every day, but you will never lose. Because when you don't win, you will learn. See, everybody want to talk about the good idea, the cute branding, the banners, the likes, and the shares. But I'm going to tell you the one thing you are going to need if you are going to win in the game of entrepreneurship, and that is grit. Inside of grit is passion, perseverance, character, courage, the ability to perform under pressure, resilience, consistency, perseverance, loyalty, creativity, courage, effort, patience, time management, optimism, the ability to take responsibility, not to buckle under the spotlight. Man, we need more resilient, passionate, committed, zealous entrepreneurs. We need more ideas that will challenge the status quo. If you want to show up and play and be a disruptive entrepreneur, you got to bring everything you have into the storm.
Thank you, Ms. Marianne. A reminder to everyone present, feel free to leave questions in the chat to be addressed in the Q&A later. Last but not least is a founder and CEO of New Revenue Solutions, Zuhura Odhiambo. She is also a director of Cocoa by Design and Event Management Firm. She holds a master's in business administration from Kenya Methodist University and a Bachelor of Arts from arts degree from the University Malaysia. Zuhura was part of the first Indian Film Festival Kenya from the Indian Film Festival Worldwide, being the first in Africa in August 2019. She is a leadership mentor at Kenyatta University, KCA, Strathmore University, and prepares graduating students to transition to the workplace through mentorship and internship programs. Please welcome Ms. Zuhura Odhiambo.
Thank you so much, Kenna. Much appreciated, and happy to be with all of you this morning. Of course, Rusinga has got a place in my heart because it's a school that's equipping my children as well. I've got a son in year 9 and of course a daughter in year 6. I've also got other sons and daughters that I meet. I teach at Valley Road Sunday School, class 8, and Lisa being the president of our class. And of course, I'm very passionate to have very many friends around. And I'm happy today to have all of you and seeing the future leaders that are out to bring solutions, the technopreneurs, the entrepreneurs, those that will be employed, and amazing future leaders. What I'd like to just tell you is the future is in your hands, and you are supposed to take the mantle right now. And I'm very happy to just, see how you're all excited about today and being able to learn from some of us who've been there in the industry. This, of course, is an amazing privilege that you don't take for granted, because some of us would have wished when we were in school that would have actually had opportunities like this, where people told us how it is out there before we stepped out. But so thereafter, of course, it makes you get onto your success path. My journey as an entrepreneur didn't start just as an entrepreneur. With time, I never ever thought I would be an entrepreneur because, of course, I had been employed in the media world. First, I started in the IT world, and then I went into the media world. And thereafter, I came out to then be an entrepreneur because I saw the opportunity. My first aspect of being an entrepreneur was being able to have done a very good event, and people were happy about it. And they were like, wow, can you do another one? And they kept giving reference. And I was employed, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I just did it as a passion. And yes, I can do it. And thereafter, of course, that is what bore Cocoa by Design, and we were able to start off Cocoa and be able to have it as a production event company, that has done a lot of event brand building, across the East African region. And of course, as you could say, being an events person, you're forever working around, the clock. A lot of things go right, a lot of things go wrong, and we are highly disrupted every minute, but ensuring that behind the scenes, you're actually making it really, really work well. So what I would say with that, of course, it's not as easy as it gets. I mean, there's always the assumption that you're making a lot of money, and only when you get in to be an entrepreneur, there are even days and months that you even go without a salary, just because you have that vision that should be able to take you to the next place. Thereafter, of course, currently I'm the CEO of New Revenue Solutions Africa. And this again was born by the thought of thinking about the new solutions. My experience around the events aspect is the industry knew me previously when I was at the Nation Media Group. I was the Chief Commercial Director for the Broadcasting Division. And of course, clients knew me for over 12 years, having been the ones that are giving them solutions about their revenue. So when I came out and I was doing what I thought I loved, which I still love, I got a lot of calls from your previous clients who keep telling you, can you do this for us? And it's all a revenue matrix. They want to find out what is it, how can they take their businesses to the next level. So of course that born New Revenue Solutions Africa, and we enable organizations find new revenue streams through strategy, through commercial development, looking at the commercial teams, and through data analytics, because it's the future, it's the oil of the future. How are companies making decisions using data? And of course, I'm very excited to really share with you because there's a lot of opportunities that are out there that if I was your age, I would jump on it or start thinking around it. But also just something that I would like to share is I didn't get where I am, and I'm still on the road to get there, if there wasn't one thing, the Lord. And if there wasn't one thing, the Lord having known my plans from the time I was in my mother's womb. That every day when I wake up, Lamentation is my favorite verse, 3:22-23, on the steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. His mercies never come to an end. So they're new every morning, and great is thy faithfulness, in that I'm always ready, energetic, every day to face the day with all that comes in. Of course, the journey did not stop having challenges other than your salary-less days and, being able to lose clients here and there, and being able to try and look for rent for the offices, and being able to get people. It just doesn't stop as an entrepreneur. But then came again COVID, and COVID, the events company, from March, all events were closed, and there was no events, there was no meetings that are happening. To today, only weddings and funerals, and then even just small other events. You can imagine 8 months, how are you able to think about sustaining that? And of course, in the portal that we have, it actually shows us now, and you should be ready for the double disruption. Double disruption is heavy. We've seen with the World Economic Forum, they've forecasted for the future of jobs, where we are supposed to be looking at the people organizations are looking at, and even entrepreneurs are looking at, is how are you a critical thinker? Are you a critical thinker? Are you a problem solver? Yes, we've been told we work from home. Who will be the first person to say, I know of Zoom and it can enable us to meet? How can you be that person in your business? And how can you also be able to attract such kind of people? And even how can you be able to learn and be able to give that value? Of course, it's important. Many of us run to go to entrepreneurship. But as I told you, when I stepped out, a lot of the clients who I used to service before were like, can you be able to take us through one or two things? And hence the reason why you also need to be employed to be able to know how it works, how business runs, If not, then also get in other people who have gone through that process, so that then it can enable you to know how to steer your business to the next level, or be able to get particular skills that will enable you to take your business or idea to the next level. The other part is also self-management. I loved the way Christine was sharing about, the brand, and being able to, share about a lot of things and what it really determines. So what about your self-management? Are you able to manage yourself before you can manage people, before you can manage your business? So of course, in self-management, how are you able to look at active learning? Are you resilient? Are you resilient enough to be able to wait on and be on and focus and get what you want? What about the stress tolerance? Those are the future of jobs. We are seeing that's being put globally, and organizations will be looking at those people. Are they an active learner? Are they resilient? Are they stress tolerant? Are they flexible? And those are also the virtues that the entrepreneur carries with them every other day, that you need to have, that you need to have resilience, literally, and still have a smile on your face, So it's key that we know that those are the opportunities as we are becoming the techno entrepreneurs. At the same time, we're becoming entrepreneurs, that you need to have that resilience, but you need to be also empowered with adaptable skills. And of course, the financial resources. Amazing how Ken shared about, looking for financing across, only to find that, yes, you can also get it from your spouse. And also family. So do you have an idea? Do you want your parents to help you on an idea? Have you looked at what cost it could be? What about the risks around it? Have you looked at that? Because sometimes you start everything and, after some time, a lot goes down as well. So we need to look at that and get people who can really work with us through that. So the key thing is mixing up. There's a high tech, which is of course the internet elements and being able to understand technology, which is mixed with the low tech, which is your skills that you'd get. It's like downloading something from a PDF and you still read it, and all the way to a no tech. What solutions are you giving to the community? And that is where the entrepreneur should be thinking in their mind. What is our problem I see? Every day I see border borders drive and, they get on and they are creating a menace. What is that solution? That solution is a no-tech. But then I actually need to also know what is the low-tech around it, which is, of course, what is the skill that I need around this? Then high-tech, what can I put together to be able to bring this to the next level? So that is really, really key. And we're seeing human and machine replacing a lot of jobs. And even as we're thinking in our ideas, we're thinking the job in 2025 and above, 2030, 2040, 2050. We're seeing AI being hot. How are we getting our skills? What are we thinking with our ideas in being able to ensure that our solutions can actually be, encompassed in that even in future? What about gaming? Gaming is becoming something that can be an opportunity where we're thinking about what kind of jobs we can do. And of course, digital marketing. We've seen that. A lot of people nowadays, they take photos of their food in a restaurant, thereafter they post it, and some people just see the food and end up going to that restaurant. What about just being able to be given information? Today, we are all seeing what technology has done. It has put us together. And of course, we've seen the flyer that was going around, it was being marketed around the community. That was digital marketing, again, just for today's captains of the industry. Then there's also the talent acquisition managers, which is going to be, it's there already, the human capital that is happening, but then on a technological element and also being able to bring it out, somebody who can be able to spot who are those that you need for your company, that will be able to help with this idea, that will be able to take it to the next level. And then the best part of it, even, have you thought about an idea on customer success rating? Because that is again going to be a big job, customer success specialists. Now you see everybody, you leave Uber, we leave this particular Zoom call or a Google Meet, and they ask you, what did you like about the video, the audio? What did you like about your rides? And those are just the customer success elements. What are the ideas we're thinking around this, and how can you be able to bring out a lot of those things that would be able to help you? So of course, also it's to let you know, take advantage of the internet. The internet, is a tool for education. How do you use it as a tool for education? It makes you better than you are. It educates you on things you're passionate about. Use it to the next level. Everything can be found there. Don't use it for the wrong things. And I tell you, the youth, the young people, please use your time now and be able to find out more and be able to see how much more can you deliver. And again, yes, there's also the communities you find on the internet. Some people online who are of the same interest as you. Assume you like baking and you're going to find out about how to bake cakes and how to do different cakes. And when you go into a community of bakers, you're like, wow, and you try it out. Or you are programming, or you're doing your programming and you're able to go and see other programmers and they're telling you this is the thing. So you're able to then use the internet to enable you to do that or come up with the best idea on how you can package it. And then the bigger part again is also the content creation. There are opportunities of jobs. Some of you I know are already even on the content creation and doing a few things and putting them online and sharing them with people. And you're paid. Right now you can see for online, it enables you to express yourself. People, you can make music online, you can have the YouTube videos and YouTube pays you. So opportunities are there. It's more about every day, how are you ready to go around it? So I'm very, very excited to, speak to you that you need to know that every day as we go on and as an entrepreneur, we need to focus. Never get your eyes off the focus. You need to always focus into what you want to do and also seek assistance. The other part is solve problems. It's not about making money. Yeah, money comes after we solve problems. Uber came, it was solving the problems of convenience, affordability, but at the end of the day, yes, they would make money at the end of it when we pay them. But what is that problem you're looking at solving? Then the other part is get the experience. Don't hesitate to get some experience to work fast before even your idea. If not, get other people who've been experienced to also enable you to take the idea to the next level. Don't shy away from sharing, even with your parents, your sisters, your brothers, your teachers, your aunties, your uncles. It's amazing that your idea can be taken to the next level because they've been experienced and they can help you to craft and they can see what you are unable to see. The other part again is being able to risk and change. Change is the only constant. Be able to risk. I did this 2 years ago. I didn't like it. I'm ready to try this again. Nothing is constant to be able to say you're made this way. No, you should be able. They say by the age of maybe 50 or 45, you should be on your 8th career. I think now it's going to be double with now the disruptions we've seen with COVID. You've seen how a lot of people have found opportunities on what they're doing, businesses, things they didn't know, things that they can do online, sell things online while they're doing other things. So again, how are you ready to be flexible? And of course, never give up. Never give up, never give up, never give up. With a smile and knowing above all that there is the Lord who has plans for you for prosperity and not disaster, and for the future that you hope for. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Zuhura Odhiambo, for that wonderful presentation, showing us that being an entrepreneur is not an easy journey, but passion should drive us to continue through the tough, tiring days, to build self-management before going on to manage a business, and to take advantage of the internet and never be afraid to take a risk. Thank you to all the captains of industry for taking time off your busy schedules to share to us your journey with us and inspire us to follow our passion and dream big. I will now invite Rashid to take us through the Q&A session.
All right, thank you, Kenna, and thank you for all of our captains for sharing with us their stories once again. Now, I would like to take us through the Q&A segment, and in light of our theme, I've entitled this the Full Course Queries. Now, we have 3 sections of questioning. We have the appetizer questions, followed by the entree, which will be led by Kenna Kuria, and then finally the dessert questions. So, without much ado, just like how any breakfast should go, we would like to delight our captains with some fine appetizers in the form of questions. The appetizer questions require only brief answers from our captains, but we shall go in the order in which the captains were speaking. So, Mr. Frank Mola, having worked with various global payment industries, both here in Kenya and abroad, Barclays and MasterCard, do you think that we should replicate or go further beyond in developing our own global payment industry as a nation? Should we continue to accept and work under these international global giants like MasterCard and American Express, or should we develop our own thing? Should we continue to work under them, probably becoming the next China? Well, I would love your input on that. Bon appetit.
Wow. What a tough question, Rashid. And thank you very much. I think the one thing I'd first to put a disclaimer on is never take advice from people who have never left home. Okay? And the reason I say that is the beauty of having the global multinationals has formed what we called glocal, which means global and local. We've just brought it and mixed it and make it one sort of meal, like a buffet, right? So a number of them, if you think of American Express, they've been in existence over 180 years now, globally. The likes of MasterCard have been in existence for over 50 years now. So there's something we call best practice, which we're saying, yes, pick what you can. What I hear people say is copy with pride, right? We really don't need to do A to Z what they're doing, because we have seen even speakers on this forum giving you very, very great examples of how they started a number of things. But what happens sometimes is, let's look at best practice, let's see what has been done previously, and let's make sure that now we coin it to the relevance in the market where we are. That's how I would respond to that. Thank you very much.
All right, that's wonderful. I really like that. Never take advice from someone who has never left home. It really just goes to show that there's a lot of information that we can learn from the outside world. All right, thank you, Mr. Mola, for that. Now we move to Ms. Waithera. Now, it is common belief that being an entrepreneur requires a lot of sacrifice, especially being a female giant in our nation in a usually male-dominated business economy. What have been the challenges that you've been able to overcome, and what advice and what would be the important characteristics of being an entrepreneur to both the young women that might become such substantial roles in our society and just entrepreneurs in general? I hope she's here, Ms. Waithera. Okay, I think she might be having technical difficulties, so we can save her the best for last, right? Kenna, you're up next with the entree, the main course.
Okay. Okay, for Miss Christine, what motivated you to start Supamamas, and how did the pressure that comes with being an influencer affect day-to-day life?
Thank you, Kenna, for that question. What inspired me to start Supamamas? That's your question, right?
Yes, and how did being an influencer affect your day-to-day life?
Like I mentioned, what inspired me to start Supamamas was to create a platform where mothers could continue to be inspired to be the best they can be beyond motherhood, shatter those glass ceilings and continue to do very well professionally, either in business or employed. So what I wanted to do was to then bring people who will then come and talk to them, inspire them, for them to network and also grow professionally. So that's the reason why I started Supamamas, and the business aspect of it is to provide a unique platform for companies that focus on mothers to come and market to them. So that was my inspiration to start Supamamas. On the influencing bit, just repeat your question again on that part.
How does the pressure that comes with being an influencer affect day-to-day life?
I don't think I would call it pressure. For me, it's about being authentic. What you see online, when you see me say when I do my parenting program, I'm always the same everywhere. So I try to be my authentic self everywhere, online, offline, and that has helped to make me stay true to myself. And I consider it an honor to have a space where I can have impact. I take it very seriously, and I take it like a calling from God that I can be able to impact with the gifts that I've been given. And it's not about being popular or being famous. So it's all about impact.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Ken Njoroge, switching between careers, especially in university, can be daunting. What pushed you to make the switch, and what advice would you give to students who are unsure of their career choices?
Yeah, thank you, Kenna, for the question. I think you have to start early. You have to start. I think in our case, I discovered too late in, well, it's always God's good timing, right? So, but I discovered in my 20s that I didn't want to be a pharmacist. I wanted to be in computers. But I think in primary school, you can start by thinking and reflecting hard on what your passion is. What are the things that you're drawn to, the talents that you have, and so on. And the school can play a good role. And I think Rusinga is doing a good job exposing you to industry very early. We didn't get this exposure until we were in university. So you guys are lucky. Just make the most of it.
Okay, thank you. From Ms. Zuhura, the business world is stereotyped to be a male-dominated sector, but more women like you are stepping up. What advice would you give to young women who are insecure about putting themselves out there in the business world?
Thank you, Kenna, for passionate about, like to tell the women, it's a level playing field for all of us. And we shouldn't tire from breaking the ceiling, the glass ceiling. Everybody fears from it. But the girls need to know that, being able to try and bring in new ideas that have not been done before. And it doesn't mean that, you can see a lot of corporates and even organizations that are out there that nowadays are asking women to even tender for jobs in solar, in power, engineering, just because to bring up the girl child and the woman and the lady to be able to know that they can be able to do that. And we've seen also developments, even all the way to the listed company. I think, last week, we even had KPLC bring out a chairperson who's a lady. We've seen, companies like BAT bring a chairperson who's a lady, Rita Kavashe. So it shows you we have opportunities to do what was not taken out traditionally. Of course, it's not easy, and it's never been impossible as well, but you need to ensure that you're steering close and you're able to also get various mentors and sponsors, and also having the right attitude. If you ask me, your attitude determines your altitude. And that is always, that's what will open for you doors and take you to different places, and also just be able to attract other people to enable you walk through and also cushion you to be able to grow to the heights that you want. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll now like to hand it back to Rashid.
All right, thanks, Kenna. And I've just been notified that Ms. Waithera is back. Thank you for being able to rejoin. Now we did have a question for you, Ms. Waithera, and the question is: it is general belief that becoming an entrepreneur in Kenya requires more cost input than in other economies in the world. How are you able to overcome this initial challenge that can be a deal breaker for young entrepreneurs in Kenya? And in this season of a pandemic, what have been the biggest challenges you've had to overcome during COVID? Have you had to lay off job roles?
Okay, so as I mentioned when I was talking that no one was willing to give us funds, so we decided to raise skills, skills resources instead of money, because at the end of the day you get money so that you can pay someone to offer you a service. So we raised skills, we raised ICT skills, we raised project management skills. Everybody brought their skills on board. Now, you will always find that most people are willing to give, even if they don't have money to give, they will give a percentage of their time. So that is what, for very many years, we built alternatives on. So some gave their time for strategy, some gave their time for marketing, some gave their time for creative skills. All our branding to date for all the 7 years, say actually 8 years, has been done by one person. The trainers, the same. What would I tell a young person? At first, mobilize skills. And then look at what is around you. Resources are always around you, as long as your perspective is not money, 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 money. On the answer to COVID, actually, for us, COVID has been, I see COVID has had its negatives, but it has also had its positives. And for the youth sector, I would say, particularly the young entrepreneur, it has actually been more of a blessing. One, with the leapfrogging of the virtual space, it has made organizing of meetings more affordable. I now need less than 90% of what I needed before to organize a virtual meeting, meaning we are able to have meetings more often. Because of COVID, some people that were very, very difficult to reach are now very reachable, because they had, especially at the onset, they had a lot of time. That enabled us to really fast track some of the decisions that we needed to be made. Again, with the world embracing, regardless of age, even our grandparents have now embraced the virtual space, because that's the only way now they can get to see their grandchildren and their children, right? So that means that we are able to hold not just events, but even meetings with people who before would say that they are not tech savvy. So what really COVID has done is, in as much as we are calling it the new normal, it has leapfrogged the virtual village to the next level and carried all of us with it. So for me, I know there have been many disadvantages, but we've been able also to get the time to streamline our platforms. So for example, at Alternatives, we have the Mimi Nawewe Youth Circle for any young person from the age of 18 who's economically active. And right now we are digitizing it, because now we are sure, regardless of whether you are in Mandera, Kilifi, Turkana, Nairobi, Mombasa, you need a platform that gives you equal opportunities, and you will embrace it, because COVID forced you to embrace the digital village. So for us, we see, as a business, we see COVID has been more of a blessing. We are digitizing as we speak. We are digitizing most of our systems. And actually next week, we are having a bilateral expo called the Indo-Kenya Agro and Food Processing Virtual Expo, which will be 3-dimensional. I can speak to Madam Marianne and give her the poster, which is a 3-dimensional virtual platform where you actually get in and see exhibitions and charts and all that. That would have cost us millions of shillings if we were to hire KICC and the Indian partners bring their machinery to Kenya. Now you don't have to do that. At the click of a button, you can get an affordable machine. So it's been more of a blessing for us. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waithera, for even showing us that in spite of these dark times in COVID, there's still some really beneficial fruit that we can reap and maximize on the opportunity that we have in this time. We have now reached the point in this event where I will now call upon Mr. Akumu, the head of senior school, to give his closing remarks. Mr. Akumu?
Thank you very much, Rashid. And thank you very much, Kenna, for Sorry, my camera will be turned off today. Sorry about that. And thank you very much, Rashid and Kenna, for your captaincy. You have run this superbly well. In fact, I remember the days we used to be MCs for this kind of event. You guys have done much better, way much better than we used to do it. Thank you, and well done, well done. First of all, I'd really like to thank Mr. Dan Owino. Mr. Daniel Owino, thank you for putting all this together. This has been a very busy week. It still continues to be very busy. Again, I know Mr. Njoroge, Samuel Njoroge is very happy. Mr. Samuel Njoroge and I, when we started off this week many years ago, we didn't know that it could take this kind of trajectory. But indeed, it has taken a totally different dimension. And every year, the new things happening, the better things happening, and we are so happy. Thank you very much, Mr. Dan Owino, and congratulations. Mrs. Ngutia, your leadership, our HOD, your leadership in this, we can only say thank you. Thank you so much. For our guests, I must say that this year, when we started the breakfast with captains of industry, that we started this last year, of course, we started on a very high note, but I must say that this year you have taken it notches higher, and of course, as I would always say, the sky is the lower limit. Next year, we're looking forward to even much better meeting. Now, I'm so happy that you chose Daniel and Mr. Wino and your team. You chose the speakers, and I think you did a very good job at that. They have given us all manner of advice, critical, for these young people who want to become entrepreneurs, technopreneurs. Please take this very seriously, young people. A number of our speakers this morning have mentioned a number of things, and one that cuts across is being faithful to God. That's when everything is not happening, you have your God to lean on. And of course, God will always answer your prayers. Passion is so critical, young people. We have been told this morning that passion, when everything is not happening and you're passionate about what you're doing, then that will take you to the next level. Now, one thing that I'd also like to talk about is your personal brand. The speakers talked about you as a person. What are you giving yourself? What are you feeding yourself on? There's knowledge, reading. You can't give what you don't have. You must keep growing yourself. You must keep enriching yourself. Self-management is important. If you're able to manage yourself, then you'll be able to manage not only people, but also manage your business, manage your clientele, manage your suppliers, and the whole chain. So it's important for you to grow yourself. Lastly, I'd like to thank the speakers this morning. And please allow me to just mention your names and the businesses that you run. I'd like to thank Mr. Frank Mola, the Country Director, Business Development, MasterCard East Africa. Thank you very much, sir, for, and I noticed that you're a new parent, but not so new now. Thank you and welcome to the Rusinga family. I'd like to thank Christine Khasina, CEO of Supamamas. Indeed, you're a Supamama. Thank you very much for your presentation this morning. Ms. Waithera Gaitho, a founder and executive director of Alternatives Africa. Thank you so much for the tips that you've given our students and, of course, even the adults in this forum this morning. Mr. Ken Njoroge, another new parent. thank you. Again, not so new now. You said you have 5 months now in Rusinga. Co-founder and group CEO, Cellulant Corporation. Thank you very much. Ms. Zuhura Odhiambo Ogada, thank you very much. You're the founder and CEO of New Revenue Solutions Africa, for those important tips that you've given our students today. I'm also glad to mention that Mrs. Waweru, Diane Waweru, who is our careers and university placement head, is on this forum, on this platform, and I know she has taken notes, because every year we organize for our students to go for work attachment or work experience. Mrs. Waweru, I know you have taken note of that, and now we have expanded our horizons insofar as the institutions or the organizations that would provide this opportunity for our students is concerned. Thank you very much. Lastly, I'm reliably informed that there are tokens of appreciation to our guests that will be delivered to your offices in due course. Thank you very much, everybody. Asanteni sana. Well done, everyone. Thank you. Back to you, Rashid.
All right, thank you, Mr. Akumu, for your closing remarks. If there is any question that is left behind, kindly or if any pending question, kindly write them in the chat, and I will make sure that they will reach our captains, and hopefully we'll get a response from them. But without further ado, I'd like to continue on to the program, where I will now like to invite Jane Wangeshi, the president of the Technopreneurship Week and the Ecom team. So Jane, the floor is yours.
I think Mr. Ku has already stressed on everything that I wanted to stress on, but I'll just repeat what he said. First of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to make the vote of thanks. I would like to firstly thank the Almighty God for making this event great. Thank you for the captains of industry for giving us this insightful comments and also advising us to us young entrepreneurs and understanding the power of technology in the business world. Thank you, Ms. Karaoke, the Dean of Academics, Mr. Kumos, the school chaplain, and the Technopreneurship Government, which is led by Mr. Daniel N. Misieri, for helping us make this day successful. And once again, welcome to the Technopreneurship Week, and I hope tomorrow you'll have a lovely day as you venture into the RSN Techno market. And please, thank you for supporting us for the businesses that have actually applied, and have fun tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jane, for giving the vote of thanks. And now the closing prayer by our school chaplain, Ms. Gidanga.
Thank you, Rashid, and what an amazing morning it has been. And we really, truly thank God for such a blessed opportunity as this. I'm reminded in the book of 1 Peter chapter 4 and verse 10, that we are told each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. And indeed, business is an extension of ourselves. And it's amazing that our speakers today view it as a ministry as well and a service. For we are uniquely blessed with talents and gifts. So let us go to the Lord in thanksgiving. Dear Father, we want to thank you again for what we have learned and gained this morning. We want to thank you very, very specially for those wonderful speakers who turned up today to minister to us in a very special way. Thanking you for Mr. Mola, Ms. Gaitho, Mr. Njoroge, Ms. Khasina, and Ms. Odhiambo, for the way they've given of themselves and bared themselves before us, giving us their testimonies and walking us through their lives from when they were young until now. Thank you, Lord, that because of that we have received their guidance, their advice, their wise counsel, their caution. But most of all, Lord, we want to thank you that they have painted the real picture for us. And that, Lord, you are the reality. You are right in the center of that real picture. For, oh Lord, you're real. And so, Lord, I want to commit the speakers again to you, that Father God, you will bless them abundantly, that you'll enhance, extend, and expand their skill sets to take their businesses to a whole new level beyond this COVID season. And that, Lord, you will bless their families. And for us who have gained and received this morning, that, Lord, you will use us in a mighty way. And that, Father, you will stir us up to take what we've learned and put it into action. So be with us and bless those who have put all their effort in making this event a success. For it's in Jesus' name that I pray. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Gidanga. Now, I would like to hand it back to Mudeu to close this event off.
Thank you, Rashid. Once again, thank you to all the captains of industry who joined us today. We're very thankful for everything that you taught us. I hope that we all learned something today. Since there are no further announcements, you're all free to leave. And good luck in your exams for those who are doing exams, but for the rest, you're free to join your classes. I hope you have a wonderful day and the rest of the week.